After my parents died, I inherited their quiet suburban home, but when I found a locked steel door in the basement, with chains, a camera, and a name scratched into the wall, I realized they'd been hiding something for decades. My sister Liz is missing. And whoever came back wearing her face isn't human. You ever have that one moment in life that divides everything into before and after? For me, it was the day I opened the basement door. But let me back up. I'm Matt, 28, born and raised in upstate New York. I was your average middle-class guy. Steady job in IT, no kids, no pets, no big drama, just me, my one-bedroom apartment, and a fridge full of frozen dinners. My parents, Jack and Diane, yeah, like the song, were quiet folks. Hardworking. Never divorced, never fought in front of me and my sister Liz. Everything about them screamed stability. But you never really know your family until they're gone. 3 months ago, both my parents were killed in a car crash. A semi jackknifed on black ice and hit them head on. Just like that, gone. I hadn't even called them in a week. That still eats at me. They left the house to me and Liz, who's a nurse down in Philly. She didn't want anything to do with it. Said it gave her the creeps even before they died. So I moved in. I figured I'd fix it up, maybe sell it, maybe stay a while and save on rent. The house was a 70s-style split level on the edge of town, just far enough from neighbors to feel alone at night. It had this smell I couldn't get rid of, old wood, mildew, and something else I couldn't place. It was weird being back. Everything was frozen in time. My mom's favorite sunflower dish towel still hung in the kitchen. My dad's half-finished crossword puzzle lay on the coffee table. It was like they just stepped out to get groceries and never came back. I started cleaning the place up, one room at a time. That's when I noticed something odd. The basement door had a new deadbolt on it. From the outside. I couldn't remember that being there growing up. We used to run up and down those stairs playing tag. But now the door was locked tight with a heavy-duty bolt like someone was trying to keep something in. The first few days I ignored it. Told myself I was being dramatic. But every night, I'd hear these faint thumping sounds coming from down there. Like something shifting. Or scraping. Once, I could have sworn I heard a whisper. Still, I didn't open it. Not yet. Then, about a week in, I got a call from the bank. My dad's account had an automatic withdrawal that bounced. That was strange, because according to the will, everything should have transferred to me and Liz. So I asked for more details. Turned out my dad had a second account. One with over $130,000 in it. But here's the kicker, the withdrawals were being sent to an address in Arizona. We don't know anyone in Arizona. That's when I started digging. I pulled out old tax forms, bills, anything I could find. I even called his accountant. The man was cagey, like he knew something but wasn't allowed to say. All I got out of him was, "Your dad was helping someone who needed to stay off the radar." Cryptic much? So I did what I should have done on day one. I grabbed a crowbar, and I forced the basement door open. The smell hit me first. Not mold. Not mildew. Decay. I covered my face and flipped on the light. The staircase creaked like it hadn't been used in years. When I reached the bottom, I expected cobwebs, boxes, old tools. Instead, I found a finished basement, new carpet, fresh paint, even a mini fridge and twin bed. And in the corner? A locked steel door bolted to the concrete wall. This wasn't a normal basement. This was a bunker. And my dad had been hiding something, or someone, down here. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I walked slowly around the basement, taking in every detail. There was a fold-up chair by the steel door, like someone had sat there regularly. A clipboard hung from a nail on the wall, covered in scribbled notes I couldn't read. Some kind of shorthand or code. I took a picture of it with my phone. Then I noticed the camera. A small security camera tucked in the corner of the ceiling, aimed straight at the steel door. I followed the wire across the ceiling, up the wall, and into the ceiling panel above me. Upstairs. That meant someone had been watching whatever was behind that door, from inside the house. That someone was my dad. The realization hit me like a punch. My dad, the quiet guy who never raised his voice, had been monitoring a secret locked bunker under our house. And spending $100,000 a year on God knows what. I knew I shouldn't open it. I should have called the police. But I didn't. Instead, I found the tool chest in the garage and came back down with bolt cutters and a flashlight. The door had 3 locks, 2 padlocks and 1 electronic keypad. The bolt cutters worked on the first 2, but the keypad was trickier. I tried birthdays, anniversaries, anything I could think of. After an hour, I sat down on the floor, ready to give up. That's when I remembered, my dad's old briefcase combination was always 0427, his Navy ID number. I punched it in. The light turned green. The door creaked open with a sound that still haunts me in my sleep. The room inside was pitch black. I aimed my flashlight inside and nearly dropped it. The room was empty, except for a bed, a bucket, a small table with empty food cans, and chains bolted to the floor. I froze. It was like a prison cell. Whoever had been in there, they weren't just hiding. They were being kept. I slowly stepped inside, my hand shaking so badly the light jittered across the walls. And then I saw something scratched into the concrete wall above the bed. "I am not her." Over and over. Dozens of times. Deep gouges in the wall. Someone had written that phrase like it was the only thing keeping them sane. I stumbled backward, heart racing. My parents, no, my dad, had kept someone down here. For how long? Why? Who? The next morning I called Liz. She answered groggily. "Matt? Everything okay?" "I found something," I said. "In the basement. I think Dad was keeping someone locked up." Silence. "What do you mean?" I told her everything. The locked door, the camera, the makeshift prison cell. The chains. There was another pause, and then Liz said something I didn't expect. "I knew it," she whispered. "I always knew something was wrong with him." "What? What are you talking about?" She sighed. "I never told you this. I didn't want to ruin your image of him. But when I was 12, he used to lock me in the attic. When I misbehaved." My blood ran cold. "You never said anything." "Because when I told Mom, she said I was being dramatic. That it was for my own good. After a while, I just stopped talking about it." I sat down on the couch, reeling. What the hell was going on in this house? Liz was quiet for a moment before she said, "Do you remember Aunt Maggie?" "Vaguely. Mom's sister, right? Disappeared when we were kids?" "She didn't disappear. That's just what they told us." "What do you mean?" There was a pause. Then she said, "She came to stay with us one summer. You were too young to remember. I think she and Dad fought. One night she just vanished. Mom said she ran off again like she always did." I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. "Are you saying he locked her down there?" "I don't know," Liz said. "But we need to find out." That night I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table, going through every file I could find. In an old filing cabinet, behind some tax forms, I found a manila envelope labeled Medical MR. Inside were documents, prescriptions, psychological evaluations, all under the name Marie Redding. And Maggie's real name. She hadn't disappeared. She'd been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and signed into a private facility. By my father. But the dates didn't line up. According to these forms, she was admitted in 1999. But the facility closed in 2001. Where did she go after that? And why was my dad still sending money to Arizona? The deeper I dug, the more it felt like I'd stumbled into a puzzle with no edges. Just floating, broken pieces. Then I found the key. Literally. Taped to the back of an old family photo of my mom and Aunt Maggie was a small brass key. And a sticky note in my dad's handwriting. "For the safe. If anything happens, tell Liz the truth." There was only one problem. I didn't know where the safe was. I spent the next 2 days tearing the house apart. Behind every closet panel. Under floorboards. In the attic. Nothing. I even crawled under the porch and searched the shed out back. Still nothing. Until I remembered something odd about the laundry room. Growing up, the dryer vent always whistled in the winter. Dad claimed it was just poor insulation, but once when I was 6, I heard a click from behind the dryer. When I asked about it, he brushed me off, said it was the heat expanding the pipes. So I moved the dryer, which weighed a ton and was caked with lint underneath. And there it was, buried into the wall behind a false panel of drywall. A safe, mounted right into the studs. The little brass key slid in perfectly. My hand shook as I turned it. Inside were just 3 things, a stack of letters, a cassette tape, and a Ziploc bag with a gold necklace. The letters were all addressed to Marie, written in my father's handwriting. The earliest was dated 2001. The most recent, March of this year. I opened one at random. "Marie, I know you still hate me. I don't blame you. What I did, I'll carry that with me for the rest of my life. But I need you to understand, I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to protect Liz and Matt. You were getting worse. You said things that weren't true. You accused me of things I never did." I flipped to the next. "You talked about the voices again. About the little girl who wasn't Liz. I think deep down, you knew something wasn't right. But you wouldn't take your meds. Diane was scared. I was scared." The letters got messier the further I read. More emotional. More desperate. "You threatened to go public. You said you'd tell the neighbors, the church, everyone. I couldn't let you do that. I begged you to stop. You forced my hand." And then one line that stopped me cold. "I never meant for you to find her." "Find who? The girl? The little girl who wasn't Liz." I popped the cassette into my dad's old stereo system, half expecting it not to work. A hiss. Then his voice. Clear as day. If you're hearing this, I'm gone. And if you found the safe, then you know I failed. He sounded tired. Older than I remembered. Like he was speaking from the edge of something heavy. I tried to keep things buried. I thought it was better that way. For everyone. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe the truth should come out now. There was another child. She was not ours. But she lived with us for a time. Marie found her, or said she did. Said she was being abused. But no one else ever saw her. No police report. No missing persons. Nothing. Marie insisted she was real. Diane didn't believe her. I didn't either. Until I saw her too. My blood ran cold. But she wasn't normal. I don't know how else to say that. She never ate. She never spoke. And she hated the sunlight. I locked her in the basement. I know how that sounds. I'm not insane. But that girl, she wasn't a girl. Not really. And she's still down there. The tape clicked and ended. I stood in silence for a full minute, my breath coming in short gasps. Still down there? But the room was empty. I saw it with my own eyes. Unless it wasn't always empty. Unless something had left it. That night, I dreamed of a girl standing at the foot of my bed. Pale skin, sunken eyes. Her mouth didn't move, but I could hear her in my head. I am not her. I woke up drenched in sweat, heart racing. I had to talk to someone. I called Liz again. She didn't answer. I called again. And again. Nothing. By midnight I was in the car, driving toward Philly, praying nothing had happened. But just 20 minutes out of town, I got a call. Blocked number. I picked up. Hello? Silence. Then a voice. Faint. Childlike. You opened the door. The line went dead. By the time I reached Liz's apartment, it was nearly 3 a.m. I banged on her door hard enough to wake the neighbors. No answer. I tried calling again. Straight to voicemail. I found the building manager. Told him I was her brother, and I was worried something happened. After a bit of convincing, he opened the door. The lights were off, but her keys were still on the counter. Her purse was on the couch. But Liz was gone. No sign of forced entry. No note. Her phone was missing, too. The only thing out of place? On the coffee table sat an open envelope with no address. Just my name written across the front in a shaky hand. Inside was a single photograph. Old. Worn. Curled at the edges. It showed 2 little girls. One was definitely Liz, maybe around 6 or 7. The other, I'd never seen before. Pale blonde hair. A crooked smile. And those same sunken eyes from my dream. On the back, written in red pen, was, "She was real. She remembers." I stumbled back, my heart thudding in my ears. The timestamp on the photo said 1999, the year Aunt Maggie had her breakdown. I needed help. Real help. The next morning, I called a private investigator named Curtis Kane. He'd done some digging for my company once, and he was discreet. I told him everything. The locked basement, the bunker, the letters, the tape. He didn't even blink. "I've heard weirder," he said. "Send me copies of the letters, the tape, and whatever else you got. I'll get started." While Curtis worked on that, I decided to look into the Arizona money. I called the bank and played the grieving son card again. Eventually, I got a name, Margaret Redding. And Maggie. She was alive. And she'd been receiving regular payments from Dad for nearly 20 years. But according to Liz, she disappeared when we were kids. And the psych record said she'd been institutionalized, then vanished when the place shut down. So, where had she gone? And why had my dad kept paying her to stay hidden? I finally tracked the payments to a P.O. box in Tucson. Curtis was already there on another job, so I sent him the address. 2 days later, he called. "You're gonna want to sit down for this," he said. "I'm already sitting. There's a cabin about an hour outside Tucson. Belongs to a woman named Margaret Redding. Real off-the-grid type. I paid a neighbor to snoop around. Guess what he found in her trash? What? Blood. Hair. And what looks like children's toys. Old. Real old." I felt the bottom drop out from under me. Police? They're involved now. But it gets weirder. One of the toys had a name scratched into it. You ready? Yeah. Lillian. I froze. "I don't know Lillian," I said. "Neither does Liz." "Maybe not," Curtis said. "But your dad did." I ran some background. Jack Cooper was involved in a custody battle in 1999. Sealed records. Guess who the plaintiff was? Marie Redding? Bingo. Aunt Maggie had been trying to get custody of a girl named Lillian. A girl my dad had apparently taken in. A girl no one ever talked about. A girl who, according to the letters and tape, might not have even been human. I drove back to the house that night. I don't even know why. Maybe I just wanted to be somewhere familiar. Maybe I thought being there would help me make sense of it all. But when I pulled into the driveway, something was off. The basement light was on. I know I didn't leave it that way. I grabbed a flashlight and went in through the back. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Like the kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. I stepped carefully down the stairs, heart in my throat. The steel door was wide open. The bed was flipped. Chains broken. And on the table sat a Polaroid. Fresh. It showed me. Standing in my front yard. And behind me? A girl. Pale. Blonde. Smiling. She hadn't just escaped. She'd been watching me. I couldn't sleep after finding that photo. I just sat at the kitchen table, lights on, every door locked, flashlight in hand. Every creak of the house made my pulse jump. The next morning, Curtis called. "She's gone," he said. "Who?" "Margaret Redding. The neighbor said she packed a bag and drove off last night. Left everything behind. Cabin's abandoned. You think she knows what's going on? I think she's running from it." That afternoon, I booked a flight to Tucson. If no one else was going to tell me the truth, I'd dig it up myself. Curtis picked me up at the airport, and we drove straight to the cabin. It was isolated, sitting at the end of a dirt road surrounded by scrubby desert. No neighbors for miles. Just a dusty wooden building with warped shutters and a porch that leaned like it was tired of standing. We broke in through the back. Inside, it looked like she'd been living there for years. Dozens of journals stacked on every surface. Walls covered in newspaper clippings, scribbled notes, and yellowing photos. All of it about missing children. Hundreds of them. And in the middle of it all, a photo of my dad. And next to him? That same little blonde girl. She looked exactly the same as she had in the Polaroid. As she had in the photo from 1999. Not a day older. There was a timeline scribbled across one wall. Names, dates, locations. Lillian found 1998, age estimated 7. 1999 disappeared. 2001. Return. 2005 left behind again. 2013 sighted in Montana. 2019 Albany, New York possible. 2024 back home. That last line made my blood run cold. Back home. She thinks Lillian is some kind of, what? Supernatural orphan? Curtis muttered, scanning the notes. She's not just theorizing, I said, pulling a file from the desk. She documented it all. Inside the folder were photos. Old ones. Some black and white. All showed the same little girl, same face, same expression, same eyes. Over decades. In 1952. And in all of them, she was exactly the same. Unchanged. Unaging. Same blonde hair. Same pale face. Same haunted eyes. There was also a birth certificate, faded, barely legible. Name, Lillian Gray. Date of birth, unknown. Parents, unknown. Found abandoned at a rural hospital in Kentucky in 1948. Taken into foster care. Placed with a family. Then reported missing in 1950. Never found. Until she was. Over and over again. Curtis let out a low whistle. If even half of this is true, it means my parents weren't crazy, I said. It means Aunt Maggie was telling the truth. And it meant something else. Lillian wasn't just some traumatized foster kid. She was something else entirely. We stayed the night in a nearby motel. I barely slept. The next morning, Curtis knocked on my door, his face pale. We got a problem. He handed me a local news clipping from that morning. Tucson woman found dead in burnout car. Suspected homicide. Photo below. It was Maggie. My aunt had been killed less than 6 hours after she left the cabin. The article mentioned a witness had seen someone with her before the fire. A young girl with blonde hair. My blood ran cold. She's tying up loose ends, Curtis said. Then we're next, I whispered. We flew home that night. When I walked into the house, I knew instantly someone had been there. The living room lamp was knocked over. The back door was cracked open. There were muddy footprints on the floor. Small. Barefoot. Like a child's. Curtis swept the house with his gun drawn, but we didn't find anything. No sign of Liz. No new photos. Just one new addition in the basement. A note. Taped to the bunker wall. You left me. Now you remember. That night, I finally understood what all the whispers meant. The reason my dad locked that basement. Why he chained it from the outside. Why Aunt Maggie ran. Because Lillian had never left. She just waited. And now she wanted something back. After that note showed up in the basement, Curtis insisted I stay in a hotel for a few nights. He was right, the house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like hers. But I couldn't stop thinking about Liz. Where was she? Was she still alive? Had she been taken, or worse, had she gone willingly? The police weren't helpful. I filed a missing persons report, handed them every detail I could, even told them about the old family secrets. But once I mentioned my dad's hidden basement and possible links to a decades-old missing child case, they just gave me that look, the one that says, "This guy's nuts." Curtis kept digging. He called one night with a shaky voice, not like him at all. "Matt," he said, "you need to see this for yourself. I emailed you the file." I opened it. It was a birth certificate. Issued in 1991. Name, Elizabeth Marie Gray. I stared at it for a full minute, confused. "My sister's name is Liz Cooper," I said. "She was born in 1993. "Not according to this," Curtis said. "And the signature on this birth certificate? It's your mom's. Diane Cooper." I felt like I was going to be sick. "Why would Liz have the last name Gray?" I asked. "That's Lillian's last name." "Exactly." I dug through our family files, old photo albums, anything I could find. And that's when I noticed it. In all the baby photos of Liz, there were no hospital pictures. No bracelets. No delivery records. Nothing to confirm that Diane had even given birth in '93. There was just a baby. One day, there she was. Smiling. Blonde-haired. Bright-eyed. Looking a whole lot like Lillian. I called Curtis back. "Are you saying Liz is her?" He hesitated. "I don't think she is Lillian. But I think your parents were raising her, maybe without knowing who she really was. Or maybe they did. Maybe that's what all the secrecy was about. But I grew up with Liz. She's normal. She went to school. Got a job. She's not some immortal kid hiding in plain sight. Maybe not. Or maybe Lillian isn't just one girl. Maybe she's part of something else." I couldn't breathe. And then I remembered something my dad had said on the tape. "She was not ours. But she lived with us for a time. A time. Not forever. Because something had changed." The next day, I went back to the house alone. I needed to know. Needed closure. Something, anything to explain all this. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. The cold. Not just temperature, something else. A pressure. Like walking into a vacuum. The air thick with something old and wrong. The lights flickered as I walked down the hall toward my old bedroom. And there she was. Sitting on my bed. Barefoot. Pale. Wearing Liz's old hoodie. Lillian. She looked up at me with eyes too dark for her face. "You came back," she said. My throat tightened. "Where's Liz?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Liz is me. I'm Liz." "No. You're not." "I was. For a little while. But she started remembering things that weren't hers. So I had to take them back." I took a step back. "Where is she?" "She's still in here," Lillian said, tapping her chest. "Sleeping." My skin crawled. "You're not human," I whispered. She smiled. "Not anymore." I ran. Out the front door, down the driveway. Didn't stop until I hit the neighbor's yard. Called Curtis. Called the police. Told them everything, again. But by the time anyone got there, she was gone. No trace of her. No footprints. No hoodie. No photos. Just a note on the bed. "You were never supposed to know." After that last encounter, I didn't sleep for days. Curtis tried to talk me into leaving the state. "Burn the house down if you have to," he said. "Whatever that thing is, it's not your sister anymore." But I couldn't do that. I had to try. I owed it to Liz. To my dad. To the version of our family I believed in for 28 years. So I went back. Not to the house. But to the place where it all started. The hospital in Kentucky. The one where Lillian Gray was first found in 1948. It had long since shut down, boarded windows, rotting beams, mold in the air. But in the county archive across the street, I found something no one else had bothered to look for. A photo from 1949. Hospital staff posing out front. Proud. Smiling. And there, in the bottom right corner, clutching a nurse's hand. Lillian. Same face. Same clothes. Unchanged. I flipped the photo over. "Patient number 327, LG, observed November 2nd, 48. Found wandering woods. Spoke unknown language. Exhibited photosensitive aggression. Under sedation." Photosensitive aggression. Light made her violent. I looked at the other names. Names of staff. One jumped out at me. D. Walsh. My grandmother's maiden name. And it hit me. This wasn't just some random girl my dad had taken in. This thing, whatever Lillian was, had been in our family for generations. When I got home, the front door was wide open. Curtis was sitting in the living room, pale, trembling, holding a gun in his lap. "I saw her," he whispered. "She was here. She talked to me like she knew me. Like she's known me my whole life." "Where is she now?" I asked. He just shook his head. I headed for the basement. I didn't know what I was going to do. Beg? Plead? Bargain? But she was already waiting for me at the bottom of the stairs. I thought you'd come back, she said. You always do. I want my sister back, I said. Please. She looked sad. Or maybe she was just pretending. She didn't belong to you. None of them did. Then what do you want from me? She tilted her head, studying me. You think this started with me, she said. But I'm just a mirror. A mirror of what? Your family. That's when she said the words that shattered everything I thought I knew. You were the first one. I was made to find you. I stepped back. What? You were born in the basement. Not Liz. You. That's not true. She stepped closer, her eyes pitch black. Your mother was never supposed to carry. They used me. I was a vessel. A carrier. I came to finish what they started. I dropped to my knees, everything spinning. She knelt in front of me, her voice softer now. Liz was the price. But you're the product. I don't know how long I sat there. Or how I got out. Curtis said he found me wandering the road 6 hours later, barefoot and muttering. That was 3 months ago. Liz's body was never found. The house? Burned down a week later. Electrical fire, they said. I didn't start it, but I also didn't cry when it went up in smoke. Curtis disappeared 2 weeks after that. Left no note. His apartment was untouched, like he just walked out for a coffee and never came back. And me? I moved. New name. New town. But some nights, when the power flickers and the air gets cold, I see her. In reflections. In windows. In my dreams. The girl who never grew up. The girl who never left. The girl who whispers in my sister's voice and wears my mother's face. Lillian.